everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Talking Acquisition. This is the weekly high-energy, informative, and ever so slightly opinionated view on all things acquisition, procurement, government, and contracting related. This is the place where the contracting and the acquisition community and our industry partners connect, talk, listen, and learn from each other. My name is William Randolph, and I will be your host for today. And I would like to introduce my co-host, my colleague, my partner, and my dear friend, Soraya Carrera. Hello, Soraya. How you doing?
Hello, Will. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and it was great to see you at GCMS. I'm so excited. Finally, we were able to see each other in person. It was exciting to just see
Agreed. Just to see people.
Yeah. See people, be in a room
really
full
good.
of people, right? It was great, but I'm doing well. How about you?
Excellent. I'm doing good. Again, had opportunity to come to DC, which is like that's interesting for me these days, being about 4 hours away, but it was good. And I don't miss the traffic at all.
Yeah, and it's amazing, right? That even though a lot of people are still, in the whole telecommute thing, there's still a lot of traffic in DC because I ran into that myself.
You got it. So let's dive in. We'll get our disclaimer out of the way, and then let's dive in.
All right. Well, our podcast shares information and views on a variety of topics that impact the federal acquisition community. Our goal is to provide thought leadership and perspective, not to criticize, judge, or render political opinions, although every now and then we might have a few. We provide this free service because we are former federal acquisition professionals and leaders. We believe that the creativity, innovation, and effectiveness of our community is unleashed when we share knowledge, information, and learning. We hope you enjoy our podcast, and we welcome the views and comments of our colleagues across the private and public sectors. So take it away, Will. Introduce our topic this week.
All right. So thank you for that. So I'd like to just, if you're good with it, just to go back and do a recap of the Government Contract Management Symposium. I had a great time, and there was a lot of things going on, a lot of different topics, had one big overarching theme, but lots of other activities going on for the 2 days. So I'd just like to do just a recap. Had a great time. It was great to see people, see the family, get back amongst the family, the government contracting family, and a lot of good things going on. What are your thoughts? What do you think about the event?
So I have to, like, in the interest of full disclosure, National Contract Management Association, which is, the professional body that kind of represents the contracting community writ large across federal government and industry, is an organization I've been a member of since the early 90s. And so I typically do try to go to their World Congress and their contract management symposiums. And in fact, little known fact, last year I hosted their virtual contract management symposium. And let me tell you, that was tough. Doing it virtually is hard, okay? So I was really excited to be there this year. And Becky Wyrick was the one who chaired it.
Right.
Known her for several years, and a lot of old colleagues were there. A lot of colleagues that I have great respect for in our community were there. And what I found most exciting about the conference was not only the topics, but it was that ability to network with our colleagues, whether they're junior personnel just coming into the profession, intermediate personnel that have been around for a while, or senior executives. You get a cross section of all those folks from both government, industry, even academia. It's exciting, state and local. It's exciting to see all these people come together and to share the information and experience and the learning. And then the two tracks were just very fascinating, right? Because they had the 2021 track, as I'm going to call it today, right?
Today, yeah.
And then they had the future track. And the future track was an immersive type of activity where you participated in the entire track and you were kind of working on a project. So that's the way it evolved. I didn't spend a lot of time over there because they had the greats, as I call them in our business, right? A lot of our innovators. I'm a little selfish. I'm going to talk about Polly Hall was there, who ran my procurement innovation lab. So she was there. So it was exciting to know that she was a part of that. So I said, they don't need me. They got Polly. They don't need me. So I kind of focused a little bit more on the present track and participated in several of the events. I popped in and out of the conference because I don't need the CLPs. At least I don't think my boss Boss, are you referring to? So, so anyway, but I participated. I tried to move in and out of the different activities and kind of engage in the conversations, and it was a lot of fun. It was very interesting and a lot of fun.
It really
A
was.
lot of discussion around leadership, something that you and I always.
Yes, yes, quite a few. I mean, there was a thread. There was clearly a innovation, technology adoption kind of future thread in there. But that secondary thread, I believe, was the leadership piece, because a lot of people were talking about it. I had the honor on day 2 of doing a presentation with the contract management leadership development program within NCMA. They had 10 people. They run a track, and they bring 10 people in. They build a cohort for the year, and I had an opportunity to do a public speaking TED Talk presentation with them. You talk about bright-eyed, bushy-tailed people. I mean, just amazing young talent. The career field is in really good hands. If that was a representation of what the future looks like for us, we're good. We're good.
I couldn't agree more. I met a few of those folks. Several of them mentioned your talk, and I said, well, of course, he's brilliant. That's why I talk with him on our podcast. But no, all kidding aside, I was just impressed by the caliber of people that were there, the enthusiasm, the energy. And I know it's one of our first events, coming out of pandemic, and so people miss seeing each other. But I've always seen this level of enthusiasm when I go to these events, whether it's World Congress, whether it's GCMS, or even some of the other professional association events. There's a level of enthusiasm when you're sharing in that learning and that ability to network. And I think that's extremely important. If I was to say, what's the theme of our talk today? Yeah, we're talking about GCMS, but what we're really talking about is networking opportunities within our profession. That's really what this is about. The opportunity to inspire and motivate. If you're, in a little bit more senior position, the opportunity to give back to our community, to help develop and grow those that are coming in our community, whether they work in private industry, state, local, or federal government, doesn't matter. It's about the learning. It's about the sharing of experiences. And it's about seeing that future. And I got to tell you, I'm enthusiastic about that future. Never before have you seen a more diverse, a more energized group of individuals. And I use that word diverse to talk about every caliber of diversity in experience and culture. It's just amazing. When I started in this profession, I'm not ashamed to say, because I've had this discussion with women in my profession, it was mostly a male profession. All the senior leaders were males. We didn't have a lot of females in senior leadership roles in this profession. And I wouldn't say it wasn't diverse, but it could use a little more shot in the arm of diversity, right? There weren't a ton of Hispanics in there. There weren't a ton of Asians in there. You might see an occasional, person of color in there, but they were few and far between when I started, because I'm older than dirt. So, you gotta remember that, right? So I started like way back when. But what has impressed me about this profession is how it has grown in diversity and inclusion, and how we've gotten so much better. And I dare say, and I haven't looked at statistics because I don't do that much homework, but I'm guessing that in this profession, it's probably about 60% women now. At least I know that in my office, it was 60% women. And when you talked about women in leadership roles in our profession, I'm going to say quite a few women.
Yeah, highly represented.
It was on display. It was on display at GCMS, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really clear. I really love the language around community, because that's what I saw. It was really a community, and it showed up in I think 3 ways for me. The first was, you're not alone. So whenever we got into these conversations about dynamics or experiences that people were having at various organizations, it's like, oh, heard that, seen that, done that before, so it's a shared, it was a shared experience that you're not alone. The second was, I love the diversity of the operational missions that were represented. I did a panel with a acquisition professional that was a former engineer from Postal Service. And I'm like, wow, usually, again, this is my experience, you have the You have the DoD constructs. So everyone's doing boats, planes, things that shoot, things that roll, things that fly, and things
Right.
that float. So you have that story. And then you have the civilian story that is still leans toward the bigger organizations in the civilian agencies. You got IRS, DHS, kind of
GSA.
the heavies,
Yeah, the heavy.
commerce.
Mhm.
But to have postal service and then to have him having talk about the dynamics that are in play in the postal service, I was like, wow, I never thought about it from that
Yeah.
context, that even some of the quote unquote smaller civilian agencies, they are wrestling with the exact same challenges as the
Exactly.
big guys are. And then the third we touched on a little bit is the leadership piece. Is
Mhm.
that I throughout the course of the day that I was there, there were a couple of individuals that I had seen over time
Right.
were junior contracts professionals, and now they're leading teams, leading divisions, leading organizations, and just to see that progression. One, it
Mhm.
says, "Hey, William, you're the old guy now." Okay, so, but then the second was like how proud I was to see the progression of some of these individuals that had the spark in the eye when they were junior. It was like, you
Exactly.
knew something, the lights were on, and somebody was home, when they were young, and now they have taken that talent, leveraged experiences and opportunities, and have found their way up the organization. It just makes me proud from a community member just to see that progression.
Yeah, I agree. I ran across many people who I've worked with over the years, whether they came in through our intern. I actually had one of our former APCP Acquisition Professionals Career Program interns walk up and say, "Hi, Soraya, I was in your intern program and not at DHS anymore. Now I'm over here." But it was just so exciting to hear what they're
Yes.
doing and how they've developed and grown. And I really, what I really liked, and you mentioned this, you're not alone. The problems and the challenges, I guess, that we confront in the procurement community, whether you're in industry or government, are very similar, are very, very similar. You're just coming at them from a different perspective, but they're very similar. And the learning, that ability to learn from one another, to share in those experiences and talk about how we address those challenges. The other, you mentioned that leadership permeated. The other topic that permeated was innovation. When can you remember a time where people married procurement and
Yes.
innovation in one
Right.
sentence, or contracting? I know I did that at DHS. I know I kicked that off because I'm a little crazy that way. I like, mixing terms like that. But really, people are now talking more and more about how to be innovative in the procurement space, not just how to buy innovation. Because a lot of people think that what you're
Right.
talking about is how to buy innovation.
Procurement.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. It's not about buying innovation. It's about being innovative, excuse me, in the procurement space, in the contracting space.
Yeah.
How do we create contracts and contractual instruments? Let me not say contracts, contractual instruments that enable us to be more innovative in how we select our vendors, how we evaluate, how we select them, how we manage those contracts, the
Sure.
terms and conditions that we include in those contracts, how we price them. That's the innovation that we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
And that thread was permeating throughout the conference as well. And I think that's a discussion that needs to be at the forefront, not only today, but always. We got to find better ways to do things, because you know what? The one conversation that we had there was the threat is real, and the enemy isn't held up by things like federal acquisition regulations, the Congress of the United States, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
None of that stuff. Nobody cares. The
No
enemy doesn't care about that.
joint requirements council.
No, yeah, they don't have any joint requirements, no boards, no nothing, right?
Yeah.
There are no 8 or 9 panels for those that would try to harm us. And so we got to stay ahead of them. And the only way we're going to stay ahead of them is by being creative, being innovative, taking that federal acquisition regulation and not building more regulations. Use what you got in there. The one thing that I have always said, many people want to say, "Oh, the FAR holds us back," and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. What holds you back is your own imagination. Because if it doesn't say you can't, well, you probably can. So let's go try it.
Yeah,
right?
agreed.
And
Agreed.
let's bring the parties together and let's be creative about what we do. Let's bring that lawyer in the room, bring your IT guy in the room, bring your security folks, bring whoever you got to have at the table to say, I got an idea. Let's go test it.
Yeah,
Let's see if we can make this work, and tell me why it can't work. And you know what, that, yeah, I think you've heard me say this before. I always go, why not? When somebody says no, I don't say, oh, well, no, why not?
sure.
Tell me what stops me, because I might be able to overcome it. You know, it's called risk mitigation.
Yeah,
And we have to think in risk, and we have to think in mitigation strategies. So, huge advocate of innovation, excited to hear people using that terminology in our profession. I
yeah,
love it. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. It's amazing. It's just the shift in the culture of our community. It's amazing. One of the things I think could be additive, or I think is additive and could be additive for others,
Mhm.
is in instances like this when the community gets together, is building that network.
Mhm.
Don't lose the opportunity, going around and getting the little tchotchke gifts, out of the thing. Don't miss the opportunity to go meet people and connect, because
Exactly.
that's where the next idea, who knows, the next opportunity, the next thought, engagement, putting a team together on something innovative and kind of next level. Those places like this is where those relationships are made, and then those value opportunities come from the relationship. I've seen it time and time again, and I was so thankful on last week to be able to go reach out, see some people, and say, "Oh, let's talk about this. Let's make some connections. Let's exchange the cards." I actually got to use business cards again, which was amazing. I hadn't used business cards. I had to blow the dust off them because I hadn't used them in 2 years. But it was just like, let's write a note. Let's make sure we reconnect on something, because 1+1 often equals more than two. When you can get
Oh,
people
yeah.
together and they're thinking about stuff, it was just amazing opportunity. I saw it as a networking opportunity. So you never want to miss the opportunity, wherever it is, but
Yeah.
especially in activities and in venues and events like this. Meet as many, shake as many hands, bump as many elbows, whatever you gotta do. Okay, meet as many people as you can, because you never know where the next opportunity is going to come from. And adversaries and allies, when you're trying to go do something,
Right.
it's like, oh, I know somebody over here, somebody I met a year ago, but they were doing some amazing things, and they may have the guts or the desire or the willingness to go do something different. So never miss an opportunity.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because, networking is one of those things that when people say to me, what do you wish you had done better? In my early career, I wish I'd have known then what I know now about networking.
Yeah.
And it's part of the ECQs, the executive core qualifications for senior executives in government, building coalitions. That's what that's about. It's about networking, and it's about being able to form alliances with people, having that reach back is the way I'd like to describe it, to reach out and reach back to people that you've known or that you currently know that are working in a particular space. You'd be amazed how small our community is. In fact, that was something we all commented about. A lot of us old timers commented about when we were there, that our community is fairly small.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? You kind of, when we start talking about who you knew and who you worked for, all of a sudden you find out, wow, this is pretty small.
Yeah.
Even within industry, it's a pretty small community.
Yeah.
So, what I try to tell folks, especially, folks that I'm mentoring or guiding, when people ask me, I go, man, go into these events. It's the networking opportunity. If you get nothing else out of it, it's that opportunity to meet those people, get to know who's who in our business,
Yeah.
and meet these people that you're going to connect with and hopefully maintain a connection with, because those are the folks you're going to call when you need a friend, right? When you're looking for that answer, when you're
Yes.
working on that heady project and you're like going, oh, I've never done this before. These are your friends. These are the people you're going to connect with. And if they don't know, they're probably going to connect you with somebody that does. I can't tell how many times somebody called me and asked me a question. I go, you know what? I've not done that, but let me put you in touch with this other person over here. And then next thing you know, that's community, right? So very excited. I thought it was a worthwhile conference. I like that they had a whole segment where they talked about commercial procurement. commercial item buys,
Mhm.
and differentiating between FAR Part 12, which is the commercial item acquisition, versus FAR Part 15, which is negotiated procurement.
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
that that's an extremely important dynamic. And I've seen people putting a lot more emphasis on it over the last few years. I know that I did at DHS and my policy staff did, because people mix the two. And when you
Absolutely.
mix the two is when you get yourself in trouble on protests, right?
Absolutely.
Discussions and exchanges with industry and stuff. So I thought it was just a really good, they had very good, worthwhile discussion on that. I could just go on about all the different sessions. And I thought it was also interesting learning what all the different agencies, a lot of the different agencies are doing in the area of innovation. Procurement innovation labs have taken off. They may not be called procurement innovation labs, but I think you heard a lot of them are taking off. A lot of people are setting up procurement innovation hubs, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's absolutely a thing. So I want to ask you about the experience. As you know, we had a segment of our own at GCMS. What were your thoughts on one, seeing yourself on the podcast? Because I was like, oh, this is kind of new. We do a little bit for editing, but I never just sit there and watched it. So that's number one. And then number two, I was really impressed with the level of questions that came after it. And I think we had quite a few online that we didn't even get to. We tried to handle as many as we could in the class, in the session, but there were tons of questions that we didn't even get to.
I hope they send us the questions so that we can
I do too.
to answer the questions that came up. So I hate seeing myself and hearing myself. This is a true story. I've been interviewed a gazillion times, right? You've seen. I never listen to myself. People will send me the clip and go, "Hey, you want to listen to this?" Somebody else go listen to that, because if I hear myself, I'm my worst critic. I will.
Yeah, me too.
So it was awkward. I'm like, damn, I didn't comb my hair. What? No, just kidding. I'm joking. But I thought, if I was listening to us, in other words, if I was somebody like seeking, I thought it was fun to hear us talk, because it is conversational. There's no script. It gives you confidence that there is discussion about true leadership topics that can be had between leaders. And here's the honest approach to it, right? We're not citing a bunch of regulations and stuff. So that's what I really liked about what we're doing. And I loved our audience. Oh my God, I loved our audience, because it was such a good mix. Again, the diversity of thought and talent in that room, from very junior personnel to executive leaders, a cross section of people from
industry people,
and government, and the variety of agencies represented there. People who had just, one of the questions that I got was about, what happens when you become promoted. And
I love that. That's got to be a topic. That's got to be an episode in and of itself, because it's worth it.
Exactly. But I just love the audience. I was surprised, by the way, because, we were what stood between people getting the heck out of there and beating traffic, right? And yet we had a full room.
Yeah,
had a full room. And so I was really pleased with it. I don't like to hear myself, right? I probably, in retrospect, would have done it differently, like, done a little bit frozen and say, any questions, that kind of thing. But that's me. Yeah, but I thought it was good. I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I thought it was fun too. And just, being on stage with you was fun.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. And I think it came across that we're actually having a good time, while we're talking about things that are very important, but we are tackling it from a place of honor, respect, and fun, that you can also have fun as we go along. So I really enjoyed it. It was so great to be in person. Again, I keep going back to that. It was great to be in person with you and seeing you. So it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, in the way I see it, when you and I talked about setting up this podcast and how we approach every topic, we approach it first from the passion that we have for the profession that we're in, right? We love this profession. We care about this profession. It has been very good to us. Both of us rose to senior executive levels and had great positions of authority. And now we've both, gone off and started doing stuff on the private side. So it's about giving back to this profession. It really is. But it's not just the love of the profession. It's the importance of the work. I haven't said my favorite word, mission. Everything we do whether you work for IRS, Social Security, it doesn't matter. Or whether you're at Deloitte or Price Waterhouse or SAIC, Leidos, name the companies, right?
Yeah.
GDIT, whoever. It's all about mission. We are here to support the American people, to support the people who live, work, and visit our country every single day. And whether you're at Homeland Security or GSA, it's all about protecting them. It's all about enabling them to have a great experience in our country. And so it is all about the mission, and we're all passionate about that mission. And I think that shows in what we do. It shows in organizations and the people that come and participate in these organizations. I don't think I spoke to a single person that didn't think about mission, that didn't want to talk about mission, right? And I think that that's important. And you even see that, when the vendors did their, what do you call it? Their displays, their
yes.
booths. You see that even in what they're showing you in their booths and how they're supporting our community as well as the mission, right? Because a lot of those entities aren't just doing tools or resources for procurement and contracting, they're also doing them for mission areas, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Program, et cetera. So that's what I think I love most about what we're doing and what we did going there, and look, it's not just NCMA, a bunch of organizations do this.
Do the same.
Talk about ACT,
similar things.
Talk about PMI. There's a whole bunch of organizations that put on these kinds of events. And I tell people, as much as you can, try to participate, or at least listen in, participate in sessions, because there's so much learning out there.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Sarai, again, it's that time. It's that time again. It's time to wrap it up. So let's go to our nugget. Let's not leave. We always want to be operational and give something tactical. So what's your nugget for the community?
I would say that, the nugget is really about networking. It's about understanding the significance and importance of building relationships across your community, across your profession, across your community, and partnering and keeping those partnerships alive. And one thing about networking that I like to mention to people, it's not about calling people once a month. There are people that have you on auto dial once a month. No,
and you can tell.
This is about. It's about making sure that you stay in touch with people maybe once a year, or you just pick up the phone and call them when you need them. Believe it or not, people respond. I've had people call me that I hadn't talked to in 5 or 6 years and say, hey, now that you're retired, can I ask you this question? Of course you can. It's all about the relationships. Those relationships matter, and they don't have to be personal and intimate. In fact, I don't think I had talked to you in a couple of years when we decided to get
before. That's right.
Yeah. So networking matters. It ties to that whole ECQ on building coalitions. But more importantly, it's these relationships become friendships, they become partnerships. I dare say some people even get married later on. I've met people who got married based on some of these networking, but networking is important. Make sure you take advantage of it and understand it and participate as much as possible. It is the one thing that I always say about my early career that I didn't do well, was the networking. I got better at it as I got older.
Awesome. So I'm going to bounce off of that one, because I believe in the networking thing too, and I'm going to go with there's strength in numbers. You mentioned it earlier that the community is so very small. Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, the community is very small. So there is strength in numbers. So it's an extension of the networking. Find as many people as you can that are like-minded, have the same, some similar or even tangential experiences, and build the community within the community. I have one of my bosses always used to say, you want to bring as many brains and guts to the fight that you have, and as many as you can borrow. Okay, so that's really what it's about. It's when there are times where you're gonna need strength in numbers. So I think events like this, and especially in our community, don't miss an opportunity to go do the networking, to go build the numbers. So when you need them, you can draw upon all the brains and guts you can borrow. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. That's a great point that you raised. You're right. Bring all the brains and guts. I don't know that I would put it that graphically. Okay, just bring all I was going to say all the hammers. No, just kidding. No, but you raise a valid point. This is a great community, very proud of this community. I've been a member of it since the 1980s. I've been a member of NCMA, by the way, since the early 90s. And I encourage people to join professional associations if they can, right? It's about affordability. Some institutions pay for them, depends where you work. But if you can and you can't afford it, I encourage it because you learn so much when you're a part of those, and it gives you a network. It really does. It helps. By the way, that's how I learned to network, by joining. That's literally how I started. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So, but it's good to talk to you, Will.
Absolutely. 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 And with that, another one in the books, episode 10. Episode 10.
Great.
We're on our way to 100.
We're on our way. But guess what? For our next episode, I think we might have a guest speaker.
Oh, I can't wait.
If he doesn't cancel out on me, hopefully he won't cancel out on me. He wouldn't cancel, he might delay. But anyway, so I have a guest speaker lined up, and I have some thoughts on some future guest speakers, including that if they're listening out there, some of you folks that participate in GCMS, come on down. We're excited.
I've got my list. A lot of people I met, I got my list. Yep, they're coming. They're coming. And with that,
all right.
Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Be well.
You too. Take care.